Okay, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling a world that many of you might navigate regularly or maybe feel a bit intimidated by: procurement.
Mhm.
Specifically, we're looking at how AI is being used to, well, overhaul it, moving it from, piles of paperwork to something much smarter.
Exactly. We've been looking at this really interesting presentation. It's from Haptic R&D Consulting called Procurement Pro Suite, Intelligent Procurement,
Yeah,
Optimized Results.
right.
And it really lays out a vision for AI's role in this whole area.
And our goal right now, it's really just to dig into the source. We want to pull out the most valuable bits, the insights that show you how AI is being applied, to make bidding, analysis, the whole thing sharper, more effective.
Because look, if you've ever been involved in procuring anything more complex than, say, office supplies,
Yeah.
comparing software, sourcing equipment, services,
Yeah.
the challenges they mentioned right at the start here feel very, very real.
They really do hit on those pain points, don't they? I mean, just think about the sheer hours lost. All the manual stuff, drafting docs, chasing info, comparing line items.
Oh, yeah. It's exhausting. And with all that manual work comes the inevitable risk of errors, right? Slipping up somewhere.
Definitely. And then trying to compare complex bids objectively. That's another huge one they mention.
It is. How do you really stack up proposal A against proposal B when they're structured differently, maybe use slightly different words? It's incredibly hard to be sure you're comparing apples to apples.
And that means you might miss things, subtle stuff.
Right, and those missed details, they can translate directly into missed opportunities, hidden risks in the terms, or maybe a point you could have negotiated that costs actual money.
Plus, trying to build a procurement strategy, it feels almost impossible if you're just buried in process, without good, clean data to guide you.
hmm And then there's that constant pressure, the balancing act. Cut costs, yes, but you absolutely cannot compromise on quality or compliance or getting things on time.
It's a tough tightrope to walk.
It is. So this is the landscape, the challenge that this source material sets up. It's the problem AI is supposedly here to solve.
Which is the perfect lead-in for their solution. The presentation positions this Procurement Pro Suite as a comprehensive platform, AI-powered, designed to simplify that whole, often messy procurement lifecycle.
Yeah, their core message seems pretty clear. Move towards intelligence, optimization.
Yeah.
And while it covers the whole spectrum, requests through to payment, the part that really uses AI, most obviously, at least according to this presentation, is around intelligent bidding and analysis.
And they frame the benefits around sort of key pillars: efficiency, automating tasks; intelligence, using AI insights; cost savings, risk mitigation, better collaboration.
Right. They mentioned a whole bunch of modules, too, like dashboards, managing requests, suppliers, POs, contracts, invoices, work estimates, even a calendar and an AI assistant. Shows it's meant to be a full platform.
It covers a lot.
But yeah, like you said, the AI stuff for bidding and analysis, that's where the presentation really digs in.
Right. This feels like where the described transformation is most significant, especially for anyone wrestling with bids right now.
Totally. Imagine those challenges again. Hours. Just creating the request for quotation, the RFQ itself, then manually sifting through piles of vendor responses, trying to cross-reference pricing, lead times, terms across different documents, and always having that nagging feeling you're probably missing something, some red flag, some negotiation point.
Yeah, that resonates. It's so time-consuming and mentally draining.
So how does this AI solution, the one described here, start to tackle that even before the bids actually come in?
Well, it starts with something they call conceptual RFQ generation, powered by AI.
Okay.
You basically describe your core need. Maybe it's we need 50 new laptops with these specs, or annual cybersecurity services covering X, Y, and Z. And the AI helps you draft a structured, comprehensive RFQ document.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit.
Right.
So instead of starting from a blank page or digging up an old template,
Exactly.
the AI gives you a smarter starting point. What does that actually look like? Well, it suggests relevant sections, key questions you should probably ask suppliers, maybe technical specs based on what you've told it, standard terms, things like that. The benefit they state is, well, a massive reduction in that initial drafting time. Plus, it helps ensure consistency in what you ask for. And it kind of bakes in best practices it's learned from analyzing other RFQs.
Right. Just that could save significant time up front. Okay, so the RFQ goes out, the bids roll in. Now, this is where the AI bid analysis really kicks in again.
Precisely. Once suppliers submit their responses, ideally into the system, the AI described here performs this multifaceted analysis. It's not just a simple side-by-side price list.
Multifaceted.
Yeah.
Tell me more. What's this AI actually looking for when it reads a bid?
Okay, first it creates a detailed comparison summary. It visually shows you how each bid stacks up against your original RFQ requirements and against the other bids.
Okay.
So you get these clear views of differences, price, delivery times, payment terms, you name it. And this immediately helps you spot outliers. Bids that are way higher or lower, or suppliers offering maybe a unique advantage.
Seeing outliers is definitely helpful. But what about those risks, the ones often hidden in the fine print?
Yeah, that's a huge focus of the compliance alerts feature. The presentation really highlights this as critical. The AI scans the bid, documents the text, the data, looking for potential issues, and it flags them with different severity levels, high, medium, low, or just info.
Okay, severity levels. Can you give us a feel for the kinds of specific issues this AI is meant to catch? What are we talking about here?
Absolutely. The source gives some pretty concrete examples. It looks for price anomalies like, is this price point wildly different from the others or from known market benchmarks?
Right.
It flags suspicious terms, unusual clauses about payment, warranties, liability, cancellation, stuff that might put you at a disadvantage. It identifies incomplete information, like missing required fields or responses that are just vague or unclear. And crucially, specification mismatches.
Ah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Does the supplier's proposed product or service actually meet the technical requirements you laid out? Or have they offered something slightly different, maybe hoping you won't notice?
Wow. That level of detail is a huge jump from just manual review. It's not just comparing the numbers, it's digging into the language, checking the technical fit.
Exactly.
But does it stop there, just finding problems? Or does it actually suggest, solutions?
And here's where it gets really interesting, at least according to the source. The AI generates negotiation suggestions.
Okay.
It doesn't just wave a red flag. It proposes specific, actionable points you could bring up with the supplier.
Actionable points, like what specifically? Can you give an example?
Yeah, the presentation gives examples like, based on analysis of other bids and market data, suggests negotiating a 5% discount on item X. Or, request clarification on the warranty terms for item Y as they deviate from standard practice. Or even something like, explore if supplier Z offers bundling options for related services that could save money.
Huh.
And it even provides the AI's reasoning behind the suggestion, and maybe a suggested priority level.
So you're walking into that negotiation not just knowing what's potentially off, but armed with data-backed suggestions on how to get a better deal.
Pretty much.
That really shifts the role of the human, doesn't it? From data gatherer to strategic negotiator using these AI insights.
Exactly. And this leads directly into the tangible benefits they list for using AI for this bid analysis and optimization piece.
Okay, let's recap those then. Based on what we've just discussed about the AI's capabilities right here, what are the big outcomes this source suggests?
First and foremost, a drastic time reduction. Just automating that manual comparison and analysis work frees up a ton of human effort.
Right. And by basing the evaluation on objective data points, the AI flags, you get enhanced objectivity. It helps remove or at least reduce human bias or just plain oversight in complex comparisons.
Which should translate directly into significant cost savings. If you can identify the best value bids more accurately and then use those AI negotiation points, you're likely to get better terms.
Makes sense. And catching those dodgy terms or spec mismatches early, that's proactive risk mitigation, avoiding costly headaches down the road.
Definitely. You go into negotiations feeling much more prepared, more confident. That leads to empowered negotiation outcomes.
And this really does shift the whole procurement function, doesn't it? It becomes less about just processing transactions and more about strategic sourcing, making genuinely informed choices about who you partner with and on what terms.
And they even suggest that this kind of transparent, data-driven process can actually lead to improved supplier relationships over time because it feels fairer, maybe.
Interesting point. Now, this AI isn't just sitting there waiting for bids, is it? The source talks about an AI monitor page. That sounds proactive.
It does. The AI monitor is presented as something that's constantly scanning for relevant information to help your procurement efforts, even when you haven't kicked off a specific request.
How does it do that? What sort of things is it monitoring?
Well, one key feature they describe is online opportunity discovery.
Okay.
The AI can be set up to monitor specific websites, think government tender portals, industry sites, to find and suggest new RFPs or tenders that match your company's profile or interests.
Whoa.
The benefit there is potentially huge, right? You're less likely to miss out on key business opportunities or critical sourcing options just because you weren't looking in the right place at the right time.
That is powerful. It's like having a tireless assistant constantly scanning the market just for you. What else does this monitor track?
Well, for items you're currently procuring or have bought before, it can provide online price insights. The AI checks public online sources to see if maybe better prices or alternative suppliers are available for standard stuff. It might suggest ways to save money you hadn't considered.
So it's not just comparing the bids you got, it's checking if there's a better deal out there in the wild, basically.
Exactly. And that ties into market price estimation. The AI can give you realistic budget estimates for things you plan to buy based on current market trends and historical data.
Okay, that makes budgeting much more informed, gives you a stronger starting point for negotiations too, I bet.
And finally, they mentioned the monitor page also keeps an eye on potential risks.
Ah, okay.
How? Yes, risk identification is part of it too. The AI assesses potential risks tied to suppliers. It might look at news, public data, historical performance, trying to flag potential issues with delivery, quality, maybe even financial stability.
Helping you build a more resilient supply chain by spotting weak points early.
That seems to be the goal, yeah. Building resilience.
So it really sounds like this AI intelligence isn't just stuck in one module, it's layered throughout the entire platform described here.
That's definitely the impression the presentation gives. I mean, beyond these specific features, there's an AI procurement assistant mentioned.
Like a chatbot.
Essentially, yeah. A 24/7 virtual expert you can ask questions or get guidance from, like having an expert on call within the system.
A helpful guide for navigating things or asking quick questions. Makes sense. And the AI analyzes other key documents too, not just bids.
Yes, the source highlights AI analysis for several crucial document types across the lifecycle. So, when a procurement request is first put in, the AI might recommend potential suppliers based on your history or market data. It could give initial price insights, maybe even suggest alternative products or approaches you hadn't thought of.
Helping refine the request before it even goes out.
Right. Then for contracts, the AI reviews the terms, highlights potential risks similar to the bid analysis, but now on the final agreement, and might suggest ways to make clauses clearer or more favorable.
And then downstream, after the contract, things like invoices, work estimates.
Yep, the AI analyzes invoices, checks for consistency against the original PO, automatically flags calculation errors, helps make sure you're complying with the agreed terms.
Okay.
And for work estimates, which can often be really complex, it evaluates if they're complete, checks the costs and timelines against benchmarks or other data, and might suggest potential optimizations.
Wow. Okay. So the AI is applying intelligence at basically every significant step in the procurement process.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, the initial idea, right through to final payment.
That's the comprehensive picture they paint. And the consistent benefits they stress across all this AI integration are, reducing manual effort, drastically improving accuracy, uncovering savings you might otherwise miss, and just enabling smarter, more data-driven decisions at every single stage.
So pulling this all together, what does this presentation ultimately suggest is the big advantage of using a platform like this, one that integrates AI so deeply into procurement?
They summarize the key benefits pretty clearly. Achieving unparalleled efficiency through all that automation.
Right. Maximize cost savings by using those AI insights for better sourcing and negotiation.
Significantly reduce procurement risk because you're spotting and dealing with issues proactively all the way through.
Enhanced compliance and auditability, too. Standardized processes, digital trails, AI checks. It all adds up.
And underpinning everything, enabling true data-driven decision-making. Moving away from gut feelings or sifting through spreadsheets manually towards strategic choices based on powerful AI analysis.
Makes sense.
They also make a point of saying it's designed to be intuitive and user-friendly, which is key for getting people to actually use it, and scalable and customizable for different business sizes and needs.
It really is presented as a way to lift procurement up, from being seen as just an administrative function to something genuinely strategic and intelligent.
That's the narrative, definitely.
And think about everything we've unpacked from this source. I mean, AI drafting RFQs, dissecting bids with alerts and negotiation tips, the AI monitor finding opportunities and risks, the assistant analyzing documents. It does make you wonder.
Yeah, given the depth of automation and intelligence they're describing, it raises a pretty big question about the human role in all this.
Exactly. If AI can analyze complex bids faster, maybe more objectively than a person, spot risks you might miss, suggest specific negotiation tactics, even watch the market 24/7. What does that actually mean for the future role of the human procurement professional? Does it free them up to be more strategic? Does it fundamentally change the skills needed on the team? Or maybe it even alters the basic structure of how companies manage supply chains when so much of the traditional work gets handled by AI?
It's definitely something to chew on based on the potential outlined in this material. Big shift to consider.